Hey, good evening, and welcome to Buck Run's Pastor Chat. It's the opportunity for me to get to talk to one of our other pastors and for you to get to know them and us better. So, even though we're distant right now, a little bit apart, it's a great opportunity. What is happening there? Hey, hey. That was good. I'm good. I just turned it down. I just turned it down. I think, of course, I'm deaf in one ear. I can't tell where it's coming from. I'm thinking, what idiot is doing that? Well, we know what idiot was doing that. Okay. Now that we've got that question answered, so the studio audience is going a little crazy here. But anyway, so glad that you could join us. Welcome, Adrian
Thank
Mathenia.
you. Great to be here.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
Were you named for Adrian Rogers?
I wasn't.
Okay. I thought maybe you were.
I wasn't. No, they just liked it. They read somewhere that it means man of God, which I'm pretty sure it doesn't. But they read that somewhere.
Yeah.
There was a joke that they told. I don't remember who the other candidate was for SBC president that year because it was 86.
It was 86.
So Adrian won,
Yeah.
but whoever was running against him had a less appealing name, and so that was like their go-to icebreaker joke was he could have been named, and then I can't ever remember who it was.
I got you. I can't remember who he ran against in '86.
Yeah, I was young. I don't know.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, it's good to share the name with
It is.
a
It's
great
an
man
honor.
guy
Yeah.
like Adrian Rogers. So you have been at Buck Run now how long?
Came here in early July of 2019.
Of 19. Now this has been an enormously eventful year for you.
It has. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's been great.
So tell us about your wife. Introduce us to her.
So I am married to Angeline Mathenia, and we met in Baltimore, well, in the Baltimore area when I lived out there. And we've been married for 9 years. It'll be 10 years in November. And she's awesome. She's my major help in everything I do, and the mother of our brand new baby, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, she has been just the most helpful, gospel-minded wife I could have asked for, and in every step of the way has been patient and forgiving in our entire marriage. When we got married, I wasn't interested in going into ministry right away. I was working for an education company, kind of a corporate environment, and I was excelling there, and I thought we would probably stay there for a while and settle in Baltimore. And whenever God laid it on my heart to go into ministry, she was just right there with me, even to the point of being willing to leave our first home that we had together and move into my parents' house for a little bit to be able to afford this transition away from a lucrative position, and just all kinds of things like that. Just her dedication to doing what is right in terms of our obedience to Christ has been just so amazing and awe-inspiring.
It makes all the difference in the world when
Yeah.
you serve the Lord as a team, and you and Angeline really do. You mentioned living with your parents.
Yeah.
Tell us about your parents.
Yeah.
I've got a backstory there, but tell us about your mom and dad.
So my mom and dad are awesome. The best parents I could ask for. My dad's been a pastor for, gosh, he's going to be coming up on 50 years now of preaching the gospel, and just a faithful expositor, and he's left behind a pocket of these churches in rural Tennessee and Illinois and Kentucky that if a new person moved to these small towns and went to this random country church, they'd wonder why they were so faithful to God's word and why they were so just right on the right track. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the legacy that my dad leaves behind in a church that he's been at. And so right now he's the pastor at Beachmont Baptist Church in the south end of Louisville. And then my mom is just, goodness, the model pastor's wife, and a huge encouragement and a blessing to everyone who gets to call her friend. And they've been just the best role models I could ask for.
So you were born in '86.
I was born in '86. Yeah.
All right, so May of '87, you would have been 1 year old, or thereabouts. I moved to the Memphis area, and my very first day in as a student at Mid America Seminary, I didn't know anybody. And I walk in, it was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves, it was Hugh Mosley's class on Christian education. We used a book written by, I forget the guy's name, that taught at Southern for years and years. And your dad sat beside me in that class. And he was the very first friend I made at Memphis, in Memphis at Mid America Baptist Theological Seminary. And we became dear friends. As soon as he heard I was from Ashland Avenue, he knew about Ashland Avenue, and I was in with him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, your mom and dad might have even had me over for dinner. I was down there without Tanya and the boys at first, and I think he did some things to just care for me. And a couple of times through the years, I've preached for him in churches, and in fact, I preached for him in Red Bud, Illinois.
Yeah.
And a lot of our folks already know the story, the infamous story, that's where I was the day I went deaf in my right ear. I had sudden onset hearing loss, which is a weird thing, but I was in Red Bud, Illinois.
Yeah.
And since you came here, I also went blind in my right eye. So we have
If you
narrowed
develop
this
a
down.
limb, I'll leave.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you don't want to go there, dude. Because last Saturday I couldn't walk. I had a sciatic problem. So you're bad luck, Adrian.
I know. You're falling apart. I'm really sorry.
I am falling apart every time I'm around you. But you're worth it, man. You're worth it.
Thank you.
Hey, tell us about your musical background, like how you got into music and what your influences are.
Sure. So I've been drawn to melody in general since I was really, really young. I remember, the really catchy little theme song for Top Gun. I don't know if you remember, if the melody comes to your mind. It came on TV when I was very small, and I grabbed a tape recorder and held it up to the TV just to record that melody because I was so infatuated with just a really good.
What is the song? Do you remember it?
It's not the the lyric song. It's like the score.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
score.
Yeah. I know it if I heard it. I'm
So
sure
I recorded the score and would just play it back and listen to it on repeat just because I loved a good melody from an early age. And so through God's providence, neither my parents are musical, but I have an uncle who I know I'm biased, but I think was one of the best bluegrass acoustic guitarists ever. And he was in a really fantastic bluegrass band in the central Illinois area. It was really well known. They'd been playing since the late 60s. And I got to sit under him and just listen to him play guitar, learn from him. And he really instilled in me just this, the love for an acoustic guitar, specifically Martins. And so I got my first Martin when I was, I think, maybe 14.
But you still have it?
I don't. It actually got stolen from our church in Baltimore.
Oh.
Yeah,
Martin.
that stung. Yeah.
My dear friend Eli Ben Melech, who was my guide in Israel, he had a 1975 Martin, I think. 73.
Yeah.
1973 Martin that he dearly, dearly loved.
Yeah.
And one time came to Buck Run, and we had a bluegrass session with our bluegrass musicians.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really neat. So you play a Martin now?
I play a Martin now. Yeah.
What model is that? What year?
It's a D18. Yeah. So it's like middle of the line somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great instrument. I had
Martin
it for years.
guitars are fantastic.
Bought
yeah.
it with the insurance money after the first one got stolen. So.
Yeah.
And it's lasted that long.
Who are your musical influences other than your uncle? Like,
Yeah.
what you grew up listening to?
So
Did
I'm
you
gonna.
listen to a lot of bluegrass, for instance?
I listened to a lot of Alison Krauss and Union Station,
Yeah.
and my uncle's band. Outside of that, I didn't really latch on to a lot of bluegrass bands besides my uncle and Allison. Um,
Tanya and I heard Alison Krauss in concert with Robert Plant.
oh wow,
It was
yeah,
great. It was really great.
yeah. That album is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were great live.
Um, but I was really drawn to folky like singer songwriter stuff. I heard a band from Ohio called Over the Rhine. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard them or not, but
Yeah.
heard them when I was probably 14 or 15 for the first time, and I just hadn't heard anyone kind of do the acrobatics with her voice that she could do, and just over like simple acoustic and piano, and just fell in love with that really intimate singer-songwriter kind of vibe. So Over the Rhine's a huge influence. More later than that, probably John Foreman, from the lead singer of Switchfoot. His solo stuff is fantastic.
Yeah.
Josh Garrels, folks like that. Yeah.
What's your favorite Josh Garrel song?
Gosh, I'm so bad with song titles.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, farther along, it's hard to beat that one.
Farther
but
Along is great.
yeah,
Have you seen the video of me singing it?
I have.
Okay,
I
I
have.
did it. I did it badly, but hey.
No, it was great.
My favorite Josh Garrel song though is secular, but it's Ulysses. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
his take on the Odyssey. It is fantastic.
Yeah, that one is
Just
cool.
absolutely the economy of words. He's a great songwriter.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I love the way you lead us in worship
Thank you.
here at Buck Run. It's just really a joy to follow you. You've got a wonderful voice, but just the passion with which you worship, I think brings us all into it. So, where did you first see that done? I mean, you grew up in an era that wasn't like what we're doing now. So, where did you first really?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think honestly the first time that I saw it done in a way that made me want to do it was Todd Agnew. My brother was uh, helped put together this community Bible study. He was one of the leaders in Memphis. This would have been in the late '90s, and they had two worship leaders on rotation that weren't well known yet. It was Chris Tomlin and Todd Agnew. So you couldn't ask for a better way to start up a new Bible study in downtown. It was called The Loop. Todd led there most regularly, and I went with my brother to The Loop a couple times, and I would visit him in Memphis. And yeah, just seeing Todd lead um, was different than anything I had seen before.
Yeah.
I grew up in a church that was, piano on one side, organ on the other,
Yeah.
open up to hymn number, whatever, and you sing. At this point in the late '90s, we did have a couple that they were kind of bluegrass musicians that would lead from acoustic guitar, but it still wasn't this like full band
Right. Right.
kind of thing. And so there's Todd up there with his late '90s gravelly voice, and he's not wearing any shoes because he's got this like weird holy ground philosophy thing going on. So he's barefoot up
Oh,
there.
I mean, it was convictional.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yeah,
know
it was
that.
it was convictional. Yeah, so he didn't make anyone else do it, but he took his shoes off, barefoot on stage, and he would lead worship. And I could just tell that he was emotionally connected to the songs in a different way than most people I had seen lead worship before. There was always either the not emotionally connected at all, just kind
Right.
of a dry delivery,
Yeah.
or there was the showmanship. And nothing Todd did was showmanship, but it was just passionate love for.
I
leading
have such a
songs.
similar trajectory. I was a worship leader in the '80s, and before I was at Ashland Avenue, but it was the traditional, anthem choir, and we did have choir, piano and organ. Uh, Somewhere late '80s, Hosanna Integrity music comes out. Are you familiar with
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And a guy named Ron Canoli was leading, and it was like this worship experience. Frankly, if you go back further than that, Bill Gaither had done these things called praise gatherings. That was just this really incredible worship experience. And having grown up in a tiny little country Baptist church where it was painful. It was not, I mean,
Right.
the songs you're singing are good. We just did it badly, and there was
Sure.
just no passion to it. It was just like turn, and sometimes the song would go, "Hey, what's your favorite song?" And people go 432, and okay, everybody turn. There was
Right.
no thought into it. There was no alignment of the sermon and the worship, and it was just pro forma. And when I heard Bill Gaither do, these praise gatherings that he did, where man, it was really an emotional experience, but not just emotionalism.
Right.
It was you felt something about it, and even as a young teenager or older teenager, I really enjoyed that. And then Hosanna Integrity music, when it hit, that was really amazing. And when I became a pastor, while I was there in seminary, I actually got a guy whose wife had, our worship pastor, his wife had actually sung on some of that Hosanna Integrity stuff. And the two of them really helped us bridge some things. But man, I love where worship has gone. Frankly, is there a part of me that sometimes misses? I mean, you just get nostalgic for whatever you had in your youth, period.
Right.
I don't care who you are or
Yeah.
what you're talking about. But there's no question to me that churches today are more serious about worship, I think, than they've ever been. It's not just music; it's
Right.
worship, and we're conscious of that, and that's a healthy thing. Um, so you just do that so well. Tell me, sort of, what's your philosophy of what should happen in a worship service when you're leading? What is it you
Yeah.
want to see the congregation do?
It's really important for me that the congregation sings. I know that sounds basic, but I want to lead worship in a way that it's not a time for people to stand and listen to me, um, but I also want to curate what they sing
Yeah.
and make sure they're singing things that are beneficial. Because I think that one of the greatest benefits of gathered body corporate worship that I'm desperately missing right now, obviously, is just the encouragement that we get from hearing the people around us sing.
Absolutely.
Just it's easy to go, Monday through Saturday night feeling like you're kind of crazy, like I
Yeah.
believe in a man that died 3,000 years ago and rose from the dead, and I'm waiting for him to come back and fix all of this
Yeah.
mess.
Riding on a white horse.
Right. That's crazy. But then I get into a room of gathered believers, and the Spirit moves among us, and I hear other people singing those same truths, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is good.
And it's also so vibrant. When it doesn't, whatever's going on in your life, you come here and you're singing these songs. I can remember one Sunday when something had happened in uh, our family, and my daughter-in-law Candace and I were sitting down on the front row, and man, there was just a moment where we knew what each other had been through that week about some stuff that had happened, and we just, oh man, we just embraced. There was just something so encouraging about what we were singing, that we were singing the gospel and the truth of who God is, and just helped. Man, it just helps you face whatever you're going through. You're
Yeah.
singing the gospel, and this is what the scripture says: that we're to provoke one another to love and good works, that we're to speak to one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. That's just key to being the people of God. The people of
Yeah.
God have always been musical.
Right.
I mean, God gave us a hymn book, the
Right.
Psalms, and the Israelites are going to the temple. They're singing the whole way. Uh, Man, I'm so glad we've recaptured that.
Yeah. I think my generation specifically, and the following generations, are blessed to have inherited this new culture of worship, that there are so many great thinkers who have really put so much thought and prayer into what worship should look like, and I think that kind of helped bring us out of that middle kind of lackluster approach to a really glorious God. And so, you've got guys like Bob Coughlin and Mike
Yeah.
Cosper and Harold Best, like all of these guys who put so much thought into worship. And so we get to be the, inherit all of that work that they've put into it.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to be a worship pastor. It's a great
Yeah.
time to be a believer.
Bob Coughlin came to Buckron one time, participated in an ordination service when we ordained Chris Garrido. He
Yeah.
came and was there and played. So you also write songs, though.
I do, yeah.
So tell me about writing music and how
Yeah.
many have you written? Do you do it often? Is it something you go at all the time, or just
I
when you
write.
feel inspired?
I write regularly. If my wife were here, she'd chime in and say not enough, because she's always yelling at me to get back on the guitar and spend more time with my instrument, which is great encouragement. But yeah, I write pretty regularly. I was writing music long before I had any interest of doing anything God honoring with music. Like when I got started in music, and playing in bands and stuff, I was the object of worship. That was my goal, was to glorify myself. And so I was writing songs that were, you know, very self-centered and very self-focused, and with the intent of, being some rock star or something. So it's as I grew in my faith and God convicted me of what the purpose of music is. By His grace, I started writing more about my faith, and then about my relationship with God, and then eventually just writing congregational worship music. And so I still write songs that are more like singer-songwriting ish.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real term.
Yeah, I've seen it in the dictionary.
That are more introspective or whatever, but still God honoring, even though they're not congregational worship songs. And then I write congregational worship music as well, and that's been a part of my life since I was 12 or 13.
All right, so the one song of yours I know that you've sung, and that is the Son of David.
Yeah.
By the way, we're getting there in Luke. You're going to have to do that one.
We can do it. Yeah.
The end of Luke 18.
All right.
Or is it, yeah, Luke. Yeah, the end of this chapter.
Yeah.
We're in Luke 18 now. I think I'm going to take the end of 18 and the beginning of 19 together. I like to get the blind beggar and Zacchaeus together. I think they go together. But anyway, that's Sunday. You'll have to do that song.
All right.
Have you done any others here that you've written since you've been here?
I did one for. I think I've done two others just as like offertory pieces, but not haven't led them.
That's the thing. We don't know. You need to tell us. I mean, seriously, tell us when you wrote it. I mean, when I get up and preach, people know this is my sermon. They should know that's your song. It's your song, and I'm proud of that in a godly way. Not a fleshly way. But for one thing, I think we need to know better who writes what. I had a very embarrassing moment. So I was preaching in Georgia, and Matt Papa was doing the music. And I know we do Matt Papa's songs, right? But I don't know which songs are Matt Papa's and which ones are the Gettys, and I don't know. And so I said to him, man, thank you. We really enjoy your music at Buck Run. He goes, really? He said, like, which ones do you do? And I'm scared to death I'm going to say a Getty song. I'm just like, I said, I don't know, man. I'm just sorry. Don't put me on the spot. But I know we do your songs. And I should have studied that first before I did that.
I promise I'll never put you on the spot and ask you that question.
Yeah, that's that was embarrassing. I'm not over it. But tell us when you do your songs. Right?
Okay.
So you've become a dad. You and Angeline are now parents. Tell us about your son.
Yeah, he was born on December 28th, just in time for that tax refund. So it was great. But yeah, his name is Ellis James. The Ellis isn't a family name. We just liked it.
I like it.
Turns out it probably means Yahweh is my God, which is pretty cool. But James is after my paternal grandfather, who was also a longtime pastor, Southern Baptist pastor, and kind of changed the name, changed what a community thought of when they thought of Mathenia. It used to be, rough around the edges folks, and then it became a preacher and his preacher kids.
Is that a Greek name?
I've been told it is.
I think it is. I think
uh,
it's Greek.
Someone told me it was actually Dr. Schreiner said he probably thinks it has something to do with either like teaching or discipleship. Yeah.
Teacher, learner, disciple.
Yeah.
It's in that word group.
We met a Greek Orthodox guy who freaked out over our name. He thought it was the coolest thing ever, and thought my dad's name being Paul was awesome too. So
Yeah, Paulos Mathenia. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's Greek.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ellis is he's 3 months
Hey,
old now.
how much did he weigh when he was born?
Uh,
9,
it was
10?
9,
9, 10.
9'10", I think. Yeah,
Look at that. I remember it better than you do.
and 21 inches long. He's a big kid.
Yeah, he was big.
Yeah.
But it resonated with me because we had two big ones like that
Yeah.
ourselves, on either side of that.
Right.
Yeah, and man, Angeline, what a trooper. She went through hard labor.
Yeah. It's one of those things. We had a birth plan, and it got thrown out the window real quick.
Yeah.
Everything that we had said, we don't want these things to happen, it became medically necessary for all of those things to happen. So,
Yeah.
we didn't want an IV. She wanted to be able to move around. She was stuck in a bed the entire time. As soon as we got there, she was had an IV, was hooked up.
Yeah.
Didn't want to have an epidural, ended up having to have an epidural, C-section, like the whole 9 yards. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for my wife, but watching what she went through, just out of this wild love for her child.
For joy that
Yeah.
a son would come into the world.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. Yeah, we definitely grow an appreciation of our wives when they do that. And Angeline is just such a pleasant person.
She is. Yeah.
You know?
She's
I
fun.
I love being around her. Well, so looking to the future, what are some things that you want to see us do here at Buck Run in worship, music ministry? What kind of things do you envision?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm really excited about our future. I'm excited about the young people in our student ministry who are interested in music. I get to lead worship with them on Sunday nights as well, and just seeing the young men and women who want to use their interest in music and aim it towards God is really exciting. So I hope to see us continue to grow in our music ministry, to bring in young people. I'd like to see just as we get older and mature in our faith, that we're bringing up others alongside with us, and not kind of like holding things close to our chest, which no one here is. It's such a healthy place where everyone wants to. They're excited about the young folks who are coming up and be part of it. I mean, one of our Belle, our bassist, is like 15 maybe. Like she's
She's
a kid, and she's doing such a great job.
Yeah, she's so gospel focused and just loves the Lord.
So there's a lot of that I'm really excited about, and even going into younger, like just having conversations with middle schoolers who are interested in leading worship, which is that was the last thing on my mind when I was in middle school. So it's really cool to see. But I think our young people just have their trajectory is so much more positive than someone like I was when I was their age, and so I want to make sure that we have a music ministry that's ready to receive them and accept them and utilize them.
Well, Chris Parrish is the one who discovered you and got you on my radar. I did not realize at the time you were Paul Mathenia's son.
Yeah.
It took me a while, but I really do thank the Lord for that day, and so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
And grateful to the Lord for you. I like to end with two things. First one is the twinkling of an eye round. Just ask you some random questions, sort of quick answers, all right?
All right.
So your favorite airline?
Favorite airline? Oh, gosh. Did they tell you beforehand that I don't like to fly, and that's why?
No. Yeah.
No, the last one I was on was United.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good one or not.
I'm sorry, the answer was Delta.
Delta, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite secular author?
Favorite secular author? oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now. He wrote this wild book called Alas Babylon, um, about nuclear war that lands in Florida. I'm really pitching it well here. It sounds
Well,
great.
we can look it up.
Yeah,
Last
but
Babylon.
Alas
No,
Babylon.
I get it. Sometimes if but so really that's like your favorite book, not necessarily favorite author, or like have you read other stuff by him?
I have, yeah. I can't remember
Okay.
other stuff he's done. Other favorite
Well, we'll
authors.
Google it.
Yeah, Google Alas Babylon. Check
The
that one
Last
out.
Babylon.
It's really good,
All right.
like dramatic fiction. Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Um, this is gonna get a lot of hate from Kentucky folks. It's maybe objectively not a good movie. It just makes me feel really good.
Uh-huh.
Is Elizabethtown.
Really? Now, I really like Cameron Crowe a lot, who made that movie.
Yeah.
But that's probably my least favorite movie.
I know a lot of people don't like it.
You know, and I mean, I want to like it because it's got all these Kentucky places in it
Yeah.
and people.
And for me, it's
Paula
something
Deen,
about.
I mean,
Paula Deen.
Yeah.
For me, it's something about the relationship. Even though my dad is still living, praise the Lord, but it's something about the way they paint the relationship between father and son that really
Yeah.
resonated with me, and just my relationship with my dad. And so there's something about that just kind of gives me the
So
warm
the
fuzzies
Brown
all the time.
Hotel is in that movie, and that's where remember from the interview with what's his name? No,
Yeah.
no, not Chris. Oh man, Scott and Catherine was in the Brown Hotel.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell you guys apart anyway. Man. uh, a favorite movie soundtrack?
Garden State.
Yeah, that is a good soundtrack.
Yeah, I think they kind of set the bar high with that one. It's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
All right, and if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
I would. He said Elizabethtown. I would go to. I'd probably go to Oxford, England.
Oh, it's a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to England once and itching to go back. Just
All
love
right.
it.
Other than Jesus and relatives, when you get to heaven, who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Other than Jesus and relatives,
Yeah,
I want to talk to David.
David.
Partly as a worship guy. Ask him how offended he is at how I've botched some of his psalms and trying to put them to song. But I want to chat with David, and I want to know where his heart was through some of his trials, and how worship and songwriting, how God used those to bring him through those things.
Yeah, I feel that way about Paul, so I get it.
Yeah.
All right, series of gifts for you, man.
Uh-oh.
I came prepared. I brought gifts for you. Right? Ready? All right. First of all, here you go. A CD of the 50 most loved hymns. There you go. All right.
That's
CD.
fantastic.
All right.
I've probably
And-
heard a few.
All right. A bent up my diamond medallion luggage tag, from ID tag from Delta.
Oh, from Delta.
There you
Okay,
go,
I'll have
Delta.
to switch my
That's why-
allegiance.
That's why I had to get the question in there.
Yeah.
All right. From Brazil, this is watermelon tang. It is not made in the United States. It is amazing. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Melancia.
Melancia,
Watermelon.
all right.
And this is from England. Cadbury hot chocolate.
Perfect.
It is amazing.
I can pretend I'm in Oxford.
Yeah,
There you
and if you grind up a little real chocolate, I mean really good chocolate, dark or milk, whatever you like, and shavings on there, it's really super.
Awesome.
This was my eye patch. You made me deaf, blind. I want you to have my sight did come back. My sight came back.
Yeah,
So
for now.
for now, it's good. All right, and this is a journal. I do not know. This is a great brand of journal.
Oh, yeah, Lectrums. Yeah, I love those.
But I don't know how you pronounce it.
I say Lectrum. I have no idea if that's correct or not. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's closer to Leuchtturm, but that German diphthong,
Yeah.
I can read German, but I can't pronounce it right. This is you need
That's
to be
awesome. Yeah.
writing your memories down from a time like this.
For sure.
First year of your child's life, COVID-19 pandemic,
Whole nine
your
yards.
first year of Buck Run. There's a lot going on in your life.
Yeah.
And so there's a fountain pen. This is a Nimacine fountain pen in which to write it.
Thank you
And
so much.
I've given the other guy, I'm running out of Toomey things to give, but here's a Toomey iPad bag to put your stuff in.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right?
you.
All right, man. Adrian, it's been great to
It's
talk
been
to
an
you.
honor. Thank you so much.
I hope that it's been a blessing to those of you who watched, getting acquainted with our pastors. I'm looking forward to talking to our other pastors and some of our staff. And who knows, if this thing goes on long enough, I might be talking to some of you. And we'll bring you in. I've got to maybe bring Tanya in one day. So watch Pastor Chat at every Thursday night, 6 o'clock. We're going to do it. And thanks for being here. Thank you for staying so faithful. We've got some exciting announcements to make this Sunday morning, especially about Good Friday and Easter. So we look forward to talking to you then. Lord willing, I will see you Sunday morning, 10:45 for worship. Thanks for tuning in tonight.